So first, I'm also going to go over our updated training page. So it's the same spot it's always been, but we work to try to sort the content a little bit more and make it easier for people to look through and identify what training they're looking for and what areas they're focusing on. And we also updated the layout for when you go in. So now if it's one of these recordings off of Teams, the YouTube of the video is right here. And then I've been trying to take notes during the trainings so that there's also information along the side that can cover if there's links discussed or resources within the folder structure, as well as questions or kind of summary on steps, particularly for this one. Some of them I work to add times so that if you're trying to jog your memory and jump to one thing, you can. And then there's also links. So Rebecca took the time for her presentation on Wednesday to also create a wiki page. So while the summary is in here and the questions, you can also go to her page and it's going to have a lot more expansive information. So that's definitely a tool that I hope everybody can use. And if you can't find it in here, there's a couple other places that you can look for them where they're linked. So now on the software pages, the trainings for that software, where that software is used or mentioned, they'll all be on the software page, as well as the person who presented was the main presenter. It'll also show up on their individual wiki page. So there's lots of places. If you remember, oh, Norberto did the Lumion, what did he talk about again? You can also find it by going to his page. And overall, at the very bottom, there's an all training and a search bar. So if you are curious if we've talked about a certain thing, you can search it in here. And if we have, it'll pop up. So that was just something I wanted to show. If people haven't been going in here, it's a good resource. If you've missed any trainings, you can look here and even just read kind of the information to see if there's anything new and whatnot. Then there's Container File, which is exciting. It also has a wiki page. You've all been added, or you should all have been added and gotten the BIM 360 invite. And then I broke down the categories, and then there's basically the general information that was in the email that I sent out. So if you need to refer back, it's on the wiki as well. For the container file, we worked really hard to update and test some of the families to make sure they work how we want. So like we've had with linked files, having families be wall-based when we don't want certain walls in the linked file itself. We've kind of worked on that issue. And let's go to the overall. This is the overall layout. So you can see with the scope boxes, they kind of break up where the categories lie. And then you can also view them just with the categories. So if you only want to look at site outdoor, you can. If you're only working on the site plan, you can just open this up and see what you need. There's notes for certain things just as reminders. and we've tried to compile it in order to also reduce how many, like, how much extra text or detail lines, that type of things people need to use. So for example, with the parking, it's all built in. So the notation for compact, EV, the clean air van pool are all built in, kind of a reminder. For families, there's type and instance. Type is when you want another keynote for it, is kind of how I think of it. And instance, like, not necessarily, they're similar, but not quite the same. So in its instance, the options are going to show up in your properties. You're not going to have to go in to edit the type at all. So you'll see for the standard spot, you can have EV, it can be empty for a normal standard, or you can check and have it show clean air van pool. And so those would end up being keynoted the same, but they're all options, so you don't need to add the text. And it'll go with the parking spot itself. As part of the type, an overhang has been built in, and you can change the distance for the overhang, but that way, if you have to move stuff on your site plan, you don't have a line out there that's going to change or it's going to be off, that it'll all move together. And then another big item is, sorry, for the kitchen. And well, for the kitchen and bathroom, am I going too fast? Realize I'm not asking if there's questions.
No, I think it's fine. Good.
Okay. For the kitchen and bathrooms, we've laid out a couple of the more typical layouts. So these are kind of base points you can start from. So you could copy the whole thing into your file versus taking all the little pieces. So they're kind of similar to CAD blocks in a way. So we've done that. And then with the cabinets, we've worked to combine a lot of the families and make it a lot more straightforward. So you're going to see all of the shelving and door notations have been built in, and they're a better representation of a lot of the cabinets we call out. So it's not the standard Revit family. And then the single and double door uppers have been built in together. So you're going to see all of them together. So if you go to 18-inch, it's going to switch to a single door. If for some crazy reason you needed an 18-inch double door, you could change it and it would make it work. Obviously, that would be after you copied it into your project. And then same for the bottoms. There's two separate, one with the drawer, one without. So those are two separate families, but otherwise they're all the same. And then we've added in most of the general items. If there's something that you're looking for that's not in here, like it said in the email, add it to this list over here. If a lot of people have it open, you can like copy it and have a secondary one that you can write the item in. But this way, it'll kind of be a running list in here and something that all of Revit committee can come back in and look for. If you know where your item is, like if you've used it for another project, you can go in to families, container file, and not updated, and paste it into here, and we'll go through and edit it. Part of what we're doing is renaming so that we can have more consistent naming throughout. I think that's a common thing throughout all of Revit with our keynoting and working on details and everything. So with that, you'll notice, where's a good one? We'll do fitness, why not? You'll notice all of these names have been named according to the naming. So it's the division, which also will help you find where in the keynotes it should be. The family it's in. So this would also tell you if you went into the container file and just wanted to load it straight from your project, you could come into families updated and go to specialty equipment, and it's going to be in here. So it's actually going to be under fitness, and then they're all going to be in here. So it's kind of, it's also a way to help you find the family itself. I think everybody will be excited for railings, because that's a big one. We've got all of the options. And then it's sorted by the type and the mount method. So that'll be helpful when you're trying to figure out what system you need. Are there any questions? Is there anything I haven't covered?
If you want to go over, I guess you kind of did how to copy paste into projects or how to load into your projects.
Yeah. So as Sean just said, there's two ways to go about bringing in the families. So with the blocks, you could go through and just copy without the interior elevation marker, copy it and paste. Both files need to be open in the same Revit, so they would both need to have tabs. Or if it's but then you only get the certain types. So, I mean, you'd have the clearance for the cabinet. Let's see if we can get to it.
Yeah, so if there's, 4 different types of whatever cabinet you grabbed and you're copy pasting, you only get the type that you're copying.
Yeah, so you'd only get this one versus all 3. And then if you wanted all of the base cabinets, you'd want to open it up, the family itself, and then load into project.
If you know for sure you don't have a whole bunch of, you don't need all the different types, then you could just copy the one in, and that'll keep your file size down a little bit. But if you do need the flexibility of more types, like for base cabinets and upper cabinets, you probably want a good variety, so when you're laying it out, it works out right. And you may also want to go to 3D copy some of these, because like if you grab some of these, you may not get something that's underneath a countertop or something.
Yeah, or things that are above you. I think the microwave wouldn't transfer if you copied from the floor plan.
And I would make sure to check your filter before you paste in too. So when you do a window over everything, hit the filter button to see that. Make sure you don't have any views selected or anything like that.
Yeah, so you could go to this view and then remove the walls.
If you just go up to filter
Yeah.
That's your best way to make sure you don't have them selected.
And then with these blocks too, there's the option if you want to lay out your, if this isn't quite the layout, but it's similar, you can copy up, edit it to your layout, then copy what you want in the 3D, paste it into your project, and then you can delete your layout out of here. That way, if you only wanted to bring in the cabinet types that you need, you would only get those. So that's an option with these as well. It's still a work in progress, so there'll definitely be things still missing. Please, when you add to the list, also let me know. That way I can kind of coordinate or keep in mind, if it's something really common. My head's been really in this for a while, so there's probably something totally obvious that's missing. I can try to get to it right away, but I can also keep a running list and coordinate with Revit committee on getting those items into this file. I think for the most part, that's it.
Yeah, I think the next big items in there we'll get is the different stairs. The wood stairs and the concrete stairs and the steel stairs, so that way they're set up correctly and it's easier to get those going in your project and make sure the railings work correctly with them. So that's one of the bigger ones we want to get in there.
Yeah.
Anybody got any questions on the container file, or anybody been able to get into it lately? When you do the container overall view, are the other items just hidden, or because they only show up like when you go to the view, the floor plan view, you notice the other ones disappear? Is that like because there's a crop box?
What parts disappear? Oh, like if I was to go to equipment?
Yeah.
They're all
Is that just because they're cropped scope box?
They're all scope boxes, yeah.
Okay.
So that as the file grows, it's going to get bigger. So if you only need to look at one tiny area instead of having to move around in this view, you can go to the specific one. And also that's to hopefully help with us not having 20 of our 3D views, which happen when we do our little 3D view.
Yeah.
We're going to try to keep that pretty clean. So before you sync, if you can remember to delete your 3D views, that'd be great.
I mean, most of the time, I imagine we won't be syncing. If people are just accessing it, you just open up, grab what you need, and then close it, and then don't save anything but relinquish everything.
Good point. Yeah.
The only people making changes to the file would actually be doing synchronizing, and that should keep those random views and stuff down to a minimum as well.
Yeah. So it's the scope box, and then each kind of line has a section. So if you want to see the front view and what they would look like, you can do so.
And then we'll, what was I going to say? Oh, I just forgot.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Well, thank you for going over that.
Yep. Hopefully everybody can use it as a resource, and it'll help us all keep everything more consistent.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to remember is just to if you can't find something, to jot it down, what we need to add. Because that'll help us continue to grow this quicker.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I couldn't find this, or just making that list, because then someone can dedicate a couple hours and crank out a few of those, maybe when they have, if they've got a little extra time or something.
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah, I was gonna say this only applies to 2019. So any older projects in 2017 still, you wouldn't be able to use this in your project.
True.
So upgrade if you can. If you have a chance. I know it's hard, but just easy to keep most of the projects in the same version. But a lot of times, if it's a hotel and there's a bunch of links, it could take a little while to get those upgraded. So just one reminder. All right. Well, that takes care of that portion, and I'll kind of take over. Let's see, I'll share my screen.